The Journey to Speaking English with Confidence. Chapter 1. The Beginning of a New Dream. In the city of Bogota, Colombia, there lived a man named Carlos. Carlos was a hard-working and kind person. He had many friends, but he always felt something was missing. He wanted to learn English. He knew that speaking English could open many doors for him. It could help him get a better job, meet new people, and travel the world. But there was a problem. Carlos could not speak English very well. One day, Carlos decided it was time to change. He remembered a saying his father used to tell him, "If you want something you've never had, you must do something you've never done." Carlos knew that learning English would not be easy, but he was ready to try. Chapter 2. The First Steps. Carlos started with the basics. He bought a small English dictionary and began learning new words every day. He wrote each word in a notebook and practiced saying them out loud. At first, the words felt strange on his tongue, and he often made mistakes. But Carlos did not give up. He knew that every mistake was a step closer to learning. He also watched English movies with subtitles. This helped him understand how words were used in sentences. Sometimes he paused the movie and repeated the lines to practice his pronunciation. Slowly, he started to understand more and more. Chapter 3. Joining an English Class. After a few months of learning on his own, Carlos decided to join an English class. He was nervous at first because he was not sure if he could keep up with the other students, but his teacher, Ms. Elena, was kind and encouraging. She told Carlos, "Everyone starts somewhere. The important thing is to keep moving forward." In class, Carlos practiced speaking with his classmates. At first, he was shy and worried that people would laugh at his mistakes, but he soon realized that everyone was learning, and mistakes were a part of the process. The more he practiced, the more confident he became. Chapter 4. Speaking with Confidence. Carlos knew that to improve, he needed to practice speaking outside of the classroom, too. He started small by greeting people in English. "Hello, how are you?" he would say to his neighbors or shopkeepers. Sometimes they responded in Spanish, but Carlos always tried to keep the conversation in English. He also found a language exchange partner, a tourist named John, who was visiting Bogota. John wanted to learn Spanish, and Carlos wanted to learn English. They met twice a week in a coffee shop. They spent half of the time speaking in English and the other half in Spanish. This helped Carlos a lot. He learned how to speak more naturally and picked up new phrases from John. Chapter 5. Overcoming Challenges. There were times when Carlos felt frustrated. Sometimes he could not find the right words or his pronunciation was not clear. But he remembered something Ms. Elena said. "Mistakes are proof that you are trying." This kept him motivated. Whenever he felt like giving up, he reminded himself of how far he had come. Carlos also used his phone to help him learn. He downloaded apps that helped him practice speaking and listening. One of his favorite apps was a voice recorder. He recorded himself speaking in English and then listened to it. This helped him hear his mistakes and improve his pronunciation. Chapter 6. The Breakthrough. After months of hard work, something amazing happened. One day, Carlos was talking to a customer at work. The customer was from the United States and did not speak Spanish. Without thinking, Carlos started speaking in English. They had a long conversation, and Carlos realized that he had understood everything the customer said. Even more surprising, the customer understood him too. Carlos felt proud. All his hard work was paying off. He knew he still had more to learn, but this was a big moment for him. It showed him that he was getting better every day. Chapter 7. Sharing the Knowledge. Carlos wanted to help others who were trying to learn English. He remembered how difficult it was when he started, so he decided to start a small group in his neighborhood. Every Saturday, he invited people to his home to practice speaking English. They talked about different topics, played games, and watched movies in English. The group grew, and soon there were people of all ages coming to practice. Carlos loved seeing how everyone helped each other. Some were beginners, and others were more advanced, but they all shared the same goal: to learn and improve. Chapter 8. A New Opportunity. One day, Carlos received an email from a company in the United States. They had heard about his English-speaking group and were impressed by his dedication. They offered him a job as a language coach, helping others learn English. Carlos could not believe it. This was a dream come true. He accepted the job and began working with people from all over the world. He used the same methods that helped him: learning new words, practicing with others, and not being afraid of mistakes. Chapter 9. Traveling the World. Carlos's new job allowed him to travel. He visited different countries, met new people, and experienced different cultures. Everywhere he went, he practiced speaking English. The more he practiced, the better he became. He no longer worried about making mistakes. Instead, he focused on communicating and connecting with others. He also continued to help people in Bogota. Even though he was traveling, he stayed in touch with his English group through video calls. He loved hearing about their progress and sharing tips with them. Chapter 10. The Perfect Speaker. Years passed, and Carlos became known as an excellent English speaker. He had worked hard to reach this point, and he was proud of his journey. He knew that learning a language was not just about speaking perfectly. It was about connecting with others, learning from mistakes, and never giving up. Carlos often looked back on his journey with a smile. He remembered the early days when he struggled to speak, and now he could speak with confidence. His story became an inspiration to many. He showed that with dedication, patience, and a positive attitude, anyone could achieve their dreams. Carlos knew that there was always more to learn, but he was ready for any challenge that came his way. He was not just an English speaker, he was a lifelong learner, always excited about the next adventure. Chapter 11. Inspiring Others. Carlos's success in learning English inspired many people in Bogota and beyond. People who had once felt discouraged by their struggles with language learning now saw Carlos as a role model. His story was shared in local newspapers, on social media, and even on television. Carlos decided to write a book about his journey. He titled it From Bogota to the World: My English-Speaking Journey. In the book, he shared the challenges he faced, the strategies he used, and the lessons he learned along the way. He emphasized the importance of persistence, practice, and a positive mindset. The book became popular, especially among students and professionals who wanted to improve their English. Carlos was invited to speak at schools, universities, and conferences. He loved meeting people who were passionate about learning and was always eager to share his experiences. Chapter 12. Building a Global Community. With his newfound fame, Carlos decided to take his efforts further. He started an online platform where people from all over the world could practice English together. The platform included video lessons, speaking clubs, and one-on-one coaching sessions. Carlos also hosted live webinars where he answered questions and gave advice to learners. The platform grew quickly, attracting thousands of members. Carlos was thrilled to see people from different countries and cultures coming together to learn English. The platform became a global community, united by the desire to communicate and learn. Carlos also collaborated with other language experts to create content for the platform. They developed courses on various topics, from business English to travel English, to help learners achieve their specific goals. Chapter 13. A New Dream. Carlos had accomplished so much, but he still had dreams. He wanted to learn more languages and explore more cultures. He decided to start learning French and Chinese. Just as he had done with English, he began with small steps, learning new words, practicing speaking, and immersing himself in the language. Carlos knew that the journey would not be easy, but he was excited about the challenge. He reminded himself that every language he learned would open new doors and bring new opportunities. His passion for learning never faded. He continued to push himself, always striving to improve and grow. Carlos's journey was a testament to the power of perseverance and the joy of lifelong learning. Chapter 14. The Power of Communication. As Carlos mastered new languages, he realized that speaking a language was not just about words. It was about understanding and connecting with people. He saw language as a bridge that brought people together, no matter where they came from. Carlos became an advocate for language learning, encouraging others to embrace the challenge. He spoke about how learning English had changed his life and how it could change the lives of others too. He also began working with organizations that promoted language education in underprivileged communities. Carlos believed that everyone should have the opportunity to learn a new language, no matter their background or circumstances. Chapter 15. Leaving a Legacy. As Carlos looked back on his journey, he felt a deep sense of satisfaction. He had achieved his dream of becoming fluent in English and had gone on to inspire others to do the same. But more importantly, he had learned that the true value of language was in the connections it created and the opportunities it provided. Carlos continued to work as a language coach, writer, and speaker, sharing his knowledge and experiences with others. He knew that his journey was far from over. There were still new languages to learn, new people to meet, and new adventures to experience. In the end, Carlos's story was not just about learning to speak English. It was about believing in himself, embracing challenges, and never giving up on his dreams. His journey was a reminder that with hard work, dedication, and a positive attitude, anything was possible. And that is the legacy he wanted to leave behind. Chapter 16. The Ripple Effect. Carlos's efforts began to create a ripple effect across Bogotá and beyond. People who had been part of his English-speaking group started their own groups in different neighborhoods. They followed Carlos's example, creating a supportive environment where everyone could practice and improve together. These groups became places where people not only learned English, but also made friends, shared stories, and built confidence. Carlos was amazed at how his small idea had grown into something much bigger. He often visited these new groups to offer advice and encouragement. Seeing others take the initiative to help each other made him feel proud. He realized that the impact of his journey was much larger than he had ever imagined. Chapter 17. Recognized by the World. Carlos's dedication to language learning did not go unnoticed. One day, he received a letter from an international language organization. They wanted to recognize Carlos for his contributions to language education and invited him to a special ceremony in New York City. Carlos was honored and excited. He traveled to New York, where he was presented with an award for his work in promoting language learning. In his acceptance speech, Carlos spoke about the importance of believing in oneself and the power of community. He encouraged everyone to take the first step, no matter how small, towards learning something new. The award was a huge achievement for Carlos, but it was also a reminder of how far he had come. He thought back to the days when he struggled to speak English and realized that every challenge he faced had led him to this moment. Chapter 18. Teaching the Teachers. After receiving the award, Carlos was approached by educators from different countries who wanted to learn from his methods. They were interested in how he had created such a successful language learning community. Carlos was happy to share his knowledge. He began conducting workshops and training sessions for teachers. He taught them how to make language learning fun and engaging, how to motivate students, and how to create a supportive learning environment. Carlos believed that if teachers were passionate and encouraging, their students would be too. Through these workshops, Carlos's influence spread even further. Teachers took his ideas back to their classrooms, and soon students all over the world were benefiting from his methods. Chapter 19. A Full Circle. As the years passed, Carlos continued to inspire and teach others. He never stopped learning himself, always eager to explore new languages and cultures. His passion for language learning remained as strong as ever, and he was always excited to see others succeed. One day, while walking through his neighborhood in Bogotá, Carlos met a young boy named Mateo. Mateo was struggling with English, just as Carlos had when he was younger. Carlos saw a lot of himself in Mateo and decided to help him. They started meeting regularly, and Carlos shared everything he had learned over the years. He saw Mateo's confidence grow, just as his own had. Watching Mateo's progress reminded Carlos of his own journey and how far he had come. Carlos knew that his story had come full circle. He had started as a learner, became a teacher, and was now passing on his knowledge to the next generation. Chapter 20. The Journey Continues. Carlos's story is not just about learning English. It's about the power of perseverance, the importance of community, and the endless possibilities that come with believing in yourself. Even though Carlos had achieved so much, he knew that his journey was not over. Every new language he learned, every person he helped, and every challenge he faced was another chapter in his story. Carlos understood that learning was a lifelong journey, one that brought joy, growth, and connection. As he continued to teach, learn, and inspire, Carlos realized that the most important lesson he had learned was that no matter where you start, with dedication and the right mindset, you can achieve anything. Carlos's journey to mastering English had transformed his life, and he was determined to help others transform theirs. His story is a testament to the fact that with hard work, patience, and a little bit of courage, anyone can reach their dreams. Chapter 21. A New Horizon. Carlos's achievements had brought him recognition, but they also sparked a new ambition within him. He began to dream of creating a global language academy where people from all walks of life could come together to learn languages, share cultures, and build a worldwide community of learners. With the support of his friends, colleagues, and former students, Carlos began to lay the foundation for this dream. He envisioned a place where learning was not confined to classrooms, but extended to real-life experiences. where students could practice speaking in markets, cafes, and parks and learn not just words, but the stories behind them. He worked tirelessly to gather resources, form partnerships, and recruit teachers who shared his passion. The idea of a global language academy resonated with many, and soon people from different countries offered to help. Chapter 22: The Global Language Academy. After years of planning and hard work, Carlos's dream became a reality. The Global Language Academy opened its doors, and it was everything Carlos had imagined and more. The Academy offered classes in multiple languages, with a focus on speaking and cultural exchange. Students were encouraged to immerse themselves in the language by engaging in everyday activities. Carlos's academy attracted students from all over the world. Some came to learn English, others to learn Spanish, French, Chinese, and more. The academy became a vibrant place where people of different nationalities and backgrounds connected through their shared love of language. Carlos was not just a founder, he was also a teacher. He continued to teach English, sharing his journey and methods with students who, like him, had once struggled with the language. His story inspired them to keep going, no matter how difficult the journey seemed. Chapter 23: Building Bridges Across Cultures. As the academy grew, Carlos saw the power of language in building bridges between cultures. Students not only learned to speak new languages, but also gained a deeper understanding of different cultures. They learned about each other's traditions, values, and histories, creating bonds that went beyond language. Carlos organized cultural exchange programs where students could visit each other's countries. These trips were life-changing experiences for many, as they allowed students to practice their language skills in real-life situations and immerse themselves in new cultures. Through these programs, Carlos saw his dream of a global community coming to life. He was proud of what he had accomplished, but even more so, he was proud of the impact the Academy had on its students. They were not just learning languages, they were becoming global citizens. Chapter 24: The Power of One Person. One day, as Carlos reflected on his journey, he realized how much one person could achieve. He had started as a man who struggled to speak English, and now he was leading a global movement in language education. His journey showed that with determination, one person could make a significant difference in the world. Carlos often shared this message with his students. He encouraged them to dream big and believe in themselves. He told them that they had the power to change their own lives and the lives of others, just as he had done. His story became a beacon of hope for many. People who had once doubted themselves began to see the possibilities within them. Carlos's journey was proof that no matter where you start, you can achieve greatness if you are willing to work for it. Chapter 25: A Lifetime of Learning. Carlos continued to lead the academy and explore new languages and cultures. He traveled to new countries, met new people, and embraced new challenges. Each experience added to his understanding of the world and deepened his passion for language learning. He knew that his journey would never truly end. There would always be new words to learn, new stories to hear, and new connections to make. Carlos had found joy in the process of learning, and he wanted to share that joy with as many people as possible. In his later years, Carlos began to mentor young educators and language enthusiasts. He passed on his knowledge and experience, ensuring that his legacy would continue long after he was gone. Chapter 26: The Legacy of Carlos. Carlos's life became a source of inspiration for generations to come. His global language academy thrived, and his methods were adopted by educators around the world. But more than the academy or the awards, Carlos's true legacy was the lives he had touched. He had helped countless people find their voice, build confidence, and achieve their dreams. His journey had shown that learning a language was not just about communication. It was about growth, understanding, and connection. Carlos's story was shared in books, documentaries, and classrooms. His life was celebrated not just for what he had achieved, but for the way he had inspired others to believe in themselves. And so, the story of Carlos, the man from Bogota who could barely speak English, became a testament to the power of perseverance, the importance of community, and the endless possibilities that come with believing in oneself. His journey was a reminder that with hard work, patience, and a little bit of courage, anyone can reach their dreams. The legacy of Carlos continues to inspire, reminding us all that the journey of learning is as important as the destination, and that with every step forward, we are writing our own story of success. Chapter 27: The Final Frontier. As Carlos continued his work with the Global Language Academy, he began to think about the future. He knew that his work had already made a significant impact, but he wanted to ensure that his mission would continue long after he was gone. He started to think about who would carry on his legacy. Carlos decided to create a scholarship program for young people passionate about language learning. The scholarship would support their studies and encourage them to become language teachers, spreading the joy of learning to even more people. This program became one of his most cherished projects, as it allowed him to nurture the next generation of educators and leaders. Chapter 28: Passing the Torch. Carlos knew that it was time to start thinking about stepping back from his day-to-day responsibilities at the academy. He had built something incredible, but he also knew that the academy needed fresh ideas and new leadership to continue thriving. He began mentoring a group of young, talented educators who had been working at the academy. Carlos shared his wisdom, experiences, and the values that had guided him throughout his journey. He encouraged them to take risks, be innovative, and most importantly, to always put the needs of the students first. After a year of careful planning and preparation, Carlos officially passed the leadership of the Global Language Academy to one of his mentees, a passionate and dedicated teacher named Sophia. Sophia had been with the academy from the beginning, and Carlos knew she would continue to lead with the same spirit and vision that had made the academy so successful. Chapter 29. A Life Well Lived. With the academy in good hands, Carlos found himself with more time to reflect on his journey. He spent more time with his family, reconnected with old friends, and even revisited some of the places that had been important in his life. He felt a deep sense of satisfaction and fulfillment, knowing that he had lived a life full of purpose and passion. Carlos continued to learn new languages and explore new cultures, but now he did it at a more leisurely pace. He also began writing more, capturing the stories and lessons of his life in a memoir that he hoped would inspire future generations. The memoir, titled A World of Words: My Journey in Language Learning, became a bestseller. It was not just a story about language. It was a story about life, about overcoming challenges, and about the power of believing in oneself. Chapter 30. The Legacy Lives On. Carlos's journey had come full circle. From a man who struggled to speak English, he had become a global figure in language education, a mentor to many, and an inspiration to countless others. But even as he reached the end of his own journey, he knew that the work he had started would continue. The Global Language Academy thrived under Sophia's leadership, expanding to new locations and introducing new programs. The scholarship program that Carlos had created produced a new generation of language educators who were passionate about teaching and inspiring others. Carlos's story continued to inspire people all over the world. His life was a testament to the idea that with hard work, perseverance, and a belief in oneself, anything is possible. As Carlos looked back on his life, he felt a deep sense of peace. He knew that he had made a difference in the world, and that his legacy would live on through the people he had touched and the lives he had changed. And so, Carlos's story came to an end. But the impact of his journey would continue to resonate for generations to come. He had shown that the journey of learning never truly ends, and that each step we take brings us closer to discovering the best version of ourselves. With a heart full of gratitude and a life well lived, Carlos smiled as he closed the final chapter of his story, knowing that his journey had been one of growth, connection, and endless possibilities. The end.